Today we are throwing a Super Bowl themed party and making a selection of game day snack and treat ideas that are sure to score a touchdown at any get-together or event. There's football Cocoa Krispy treats, referee wafer cookies, salted caramel football strawberries, stadium Rice Krispy treats, and football cake pops, as well as 2 apps. You can't go wrong with this Dorito taco cheeseball and air fryer hot wings. Even if you don't cook much, they are sure to win over any crowd. There's a lot of recipes in this video, so if there's a certain one that you want to see first, head down to my description box and click the timestamps to jump to it straight like a bookmark. Right before we start, I asked my dad to throw us a football for good luck. Since I clearly don't know what I'm doing, I'm gonna stick to being in the kitchen. So be sure to keep on watching! Treat number 1 is going to be these football-shaped Rice Krispy treats that are sure to tackle everyone's sweet cravings. They're packed with Cocoa Krispies and peanut butter for the most incredible chocolatey and peanut butter flavor. First things first, don't forget to spray your pot with non-stick and start melting 3 tablespoons of butter over low heat to ensure your butter melts completely without browning it. And after that's ready, we could pour in 1 package of mini marshmallows. Before giving that a stir, I also sprayed my spatula with non-stick as well. Non-stick is going to be your best friend for this sticky mixture. All you want to do is stir the marshmallows and butter together until all the chunks are gone and it resembles what looks like a gooey but delicious marshmallow sauce. That's your cue to go ahead and throw in a half a cup of peanut butter. This really brings the whole Rice Krispie game to another level, combined with the Cocoa Krispies. Everyone's going to love them, and you'll wonder why you haven't tried these sooner. Once the peanut butter and marshmallows are well combined, it is time to remove from the heat and pour in the Cocoa Krispies. There are 6 cups total, but I'm adding in half of the cereal at a time to make the job much easier by incorporating the first half. Then to that, add in the rest, thoroughly scraping everywhere around the sides and underneath to coat the cereal with each addition. My tips and tricks to creating the football shape is to work quickly while it's warm and gooey. I can't stress that enough. So once you are finished mixing in all of your cereal, grab a piece and begin molding right away. My favorite way to shape these was actually with a silicone Easter egg mold. I form it into a ball with my hands first and pack it into each cavity. When molding, you want to work with a large enough piece of the Rice Krispie treat that slightly overflows the mold. That way it is tightly packed without any holes or craters for a full football, and pop it right out of the mold to slightly pinch the edges into a football shape. If you don't have a mold, you can definitely use your hands. They are approximately 2.5 inches, but this mold makes the process a lot faster and fun. Next, let's finish them off with the decorating. I'm using royal icing with a decorating tip number 3 to pipe on the curved stripes along the edges, as well as the stitching in the center. Royal icing is my go-to since it holds its shape and consistency without being too soft as compared to a canned frosting. Or you can pipe with chocolate in a plastic Ziploc baggie as well. But the best part is I prepared mine with a royal icing mix, which is super easy. You just have to add water and you have the perfect consistency without having to reheat extra chocolate. And there we have our football Cocoa Krispy treats that might be gone before the halftime show. Next, we are whipping up an appetizer. I call this the Touchdown Taco Cheeseball. It includes crunchy Doritos and taco seasoning, making it the ultimate crowd pleaser to have on your party table and snack on with your friends. The only ingredient I forgot to show here with the Doritos, make sure you have those. And to mold, I have a football cake pan. I will be sure to link mine in the description box below, but you can also mold your cheese ball with a bowl and your hands. into your bowl, combine 2 8-ounce blocks of softened cream cheese and 1 tablespoon of taco seasoning. It is completely optional to do this with a mixer. Feel free to mix by hand. The hand mixer just does a fabulous job of creaming them into the most creamy, fluffy-like texture. Once combined, drop in a 1/4 cup of your favorite salsa, 2 cups of shredded sharp cheddar cheese, and 1/2 cup of green onions. Then give that a good mix. And guys, if you are new to my channel, it's great to have you here. Every video there's a party going on, so make sure you join the party and subscribe to see more of my treats and party ideas. Now that the cheese mixture is ready to go, I lined my cake pan with plastic wrap to prevent any sticking and for easy, mess-free shaping. I'm loading the entire mixture into the pan and evenly spreading to mold a shape with a silicone spatula, leaving the top with a smooth surface. The plastic wrap is very helpful for this part. You want to stretch it out and fold it in to cover the top, and finish by tracing the sides and edges with your fingers. If you plan on making this, be sure to prep and chill your cheese ball in the pan overnight for a firm result, and on the next day, grab a bag of Doritos and taco seasoning to cover the cheese ball. I crushed up the Doritos with a mallet into nice crumbs that is going to be our crunchy topping. It's super easy to do this and doesn't need to be perfect. Place a handful of Dorito crumbs over it and pat to flatten and stick them to the football, patching up the remaining sections all around. For the sides, this is similar to adding a coat of sprinkles to the sides of a cake. I cup a pile in my hands and pat to bring it around the sides until completely coated. Then flip the cheese ball to the other uncovered side and do the same method for that. Directly onto the Dorito layer goes a sprinkle of taco seasoning. I put the taco seasoning into a shaker, that way it doesn't go everywhere and look like big clumps of powder. The best part is getting all the zippers together, and what better way to serve them than this super cool snack stadium. I will be sure to link this down below as well so you can get your own. To complete the star of the show, which is the football, cut up American cheese slices into strips. I joined together 2 long strips for the center lines and multiple shorter strips for the stitching. Before filling, I recommend to line each section of the stadium with tissue paper as a filler, otherwise you'll end up running out of chips or need 3 to 4 bags to fill it up. I chopped up some fresh carrot sticks, celery, and red bell pepper, and stack up on your favorite crunchy chips. I have Doritos and scoops along with crackers and pretzels. You'll have the most amazing flavor in every bite with this appetizer. Another simple yet unique addition to any football party are these referee wafer cookies. Start by dipping your vanilla wafers into black chocolate melts, only dipping a small portion that resembles a square shape to create his hat, and shake off as much excess chocolate as you can, placing on a sheet of parchment paper to dry. If you don't give it a good shake, the chocolate tends to pool on the back. You can always shave that off with a vegetable peel or toothpick once completely dry. For his white shirt, wear gloves while dipping the wafer into the white chocolate melts to prevent anything on his hat from melting or smudging. If the white chocolate appears sheer, feel free to double coat that again. As you can see, my melts are at a smooth, fluid dipping consistency. If you want to learn how to achieve that, I will link this in-depth tutorial in the top right corner for you to refer to that I believe may be helpful for you. The method all depends on the brand of melt you are using and the temperature. When you see that the chocolate supply is going down, angle your dipping container to get a deeper dip if needed. To dress up these referees, I made the brim of the hat by slicing a black candy melt in half and applied it over the black section as my glue by spreading on a small amount of black chocolate with a toothpick. For small details like this, I prefer a toothpick over a brush since it's more precise and gives you a lot more control. After spreading that on, hold the black candy melt cut side down over the chocolate for a few seconds before letting go. All that's missing in his wardrobe are his striped shirt with black royal icing and a decorating tip number 2. Pipe on 2 dots for his eyes and a curved smile. Then as many straight lines as you can fit across his shirt. For long thin lines like this, maintaining a steady pressure on the bag, guiding as you let the icing fall is all there is to it. If any of your icing is sticking up, use a toothpick to tap it down. Now our referees can keep the game in line. Today it looks like we have a full packed stadium with these stadium Rice Krispie treats. This time we are doing the classic homemade recipe from the back of the cereal box in a 9x9 inch pan sprayed with non-stick. The box recommends a 13x9 which has a much thinner look. If you want a thick, chewy Rice Krispie treat, this is the way to go. Just like earlier, I sprayed the pot and melted the butter on low heat and added in a bag of mini marshmallows to that, stirring continuously until we see what looks like that marshmallow-like sauce. Sometimes I get questions about if you can use the pre-made Rice Krispie treats as a shortcut. However, I don't recommend them for dipping since they aren't as tightly packed and your chocolate dip will appear bumpy on the surface. Remember to turn off the heat and combine with 6 cups of cereal. And guys, I also forgot to mention, if you plan on making Rice Krispies anytime soon for your orders or anything, check all the stores or order online. I just heard recently that Kellogg's is having a shortage right now. Into your sprayed pan, transfer the whole batch of Rice Krispies in there and spray your hands with non-stick so you can get in there and evenly distribute it into the pan. It is important that they are tightly packed. To do this, I slap the Rice Krispie treats. Before cutting, I cover with plastic wrap and allow them to set for several hours until firm. That way they are durable and don't fall apart during cutting. As for cutting, I received questions about that as well. I trim off the edges for a straight rectangle shape and keep the scraps to snack on just like this. We are all ready to dip into the green chocolate, and my method is to flip the Rice Krispie treat over, and you'll notice that's the flatter side, and dip into a deep, wide bowl, working in circular motions, and come up after a few seconds. Then let the excess drip back into the bowl and shake with the Rice Krispies straight up. There shouldn't be any missing patches of chocolate, otherwise it needs to be coated more. Always settle out the chocolate in between dips to ensure the coat is as smooth of a canvas as possible. We are doing the crowd portion of the stadium first by taking lots of rainbow nonpareils and edible adhesive. Edible adhesive is the best way to apply sprinkles when the chocolate is dry for a cleaner look. Brush on a generous amount, dabbing some extra into those nooks and crannies that Rice Krispies are known to have. Sometimes it gets dry as you're working with it, so brush on an extra layer. When adding the sprinkle layer, pack it on heavily to make sure everything sticks and press with your fingers. Then finish by dusting off the extra. Look at all those people! To make the fun design, pipe a straight horizontal line underneath the sprinkles with the white royal icing and a tip number 3 to keep the people inside of the stadium. The other details are going to be done with a tip number 2. The first vertical line down the middle is our 50-yard line, followed by a line on each side as close to the numbers as possible. Then divide each section in half and pipe the 40-yard line. The whole game is sold out. These Krispy treats brought everything to life, and any football fan is enjoying them. These chocolate cake pops are always a winner as a small bite-sized treat. To prepare the cake pop dough, I'm baking the chocolate batter into cupcakes. To see my base recipe for any flavor and the cake mix I use, feel free to refer to several of my other cake pop videos, for example, the Thanksgiving cake pops and Halloween cake pops. I bake the cupcakes for 20 minutes at 350 degrees and allow them to slightly cool until they are warm. This makes the cupcakes easier to break up and form the dough. I'm removing the liners and breaking up the cupcakes. It is perfectly normal if the cake is delicate and appears broken. That's because the cake is warm. When all the cupcakes are in there, get ready to switch on the food processor and grind until it resembles fine crumbs and the cake comes together into a dough when packed together. To knead the chocolate cake dough, dump everything into a large bowl and slightly wet your fingers. A little bit of moisture helps knead the dough, especially if it is slightly dry. I give it a good squeeze to work the cake dough and flip it over to gather into a large ball. One of my biggest tips for this is to chill the cake pop dough overnight. It makes such a difference when rolling and shaping the cake pops with as least cracks as possible. Here I wrapped up the cake dough with plastic wrap and let it chill overnight so we could get rolling the next day. The mold is actually a lemon mold from My Little Cake Pop. When using a cake pop mold for any shape, work with a generous chunk so that there's enough to fill up the mold and roll into a tight ball by pinching. My favorite trick is to glide the ball against a silicone mat. The mat works out the cracks and gives the cake ball a smooth appearance. This mold has a hole on the bottom. I think typically the stick is inserted in that spot, but I wanted to keep my football upright, so what I do is place the cake ball in and close the hinge while squeezing out the extra scraps to remove, also squeezing out as much as I can on the whole side. There is going to be an indentation in that spot, so don't think you did something wrong. I open the hinge and carefully slide it out without ruining the shape. To get rid of that indentation, smooth it out with some water or a lollipop stick, and that's how we shape all of the footballs. I chose to mix the football shade for the chocolate by combining salted caramel melts with milk chocolate melts and a tiny bit of orange with a few drops of orange candy coloring. If you prefer to use the standard milk chocolate, you can do that also. I was inspired by the orangey brown rusty color that matches the football on my backdrop and tablecloth. To insert the stick, dip into a small amount of the chocolate and tap off the extra. Then gently twist the stick in without breaking the football. Keep in mind my sticks are unusually long because of my cake pop stand. Feel free to use 6-inch lollipop sticks. And before dipping in the next step, seal up the cracky areas with a small amount of melted chocolate. The main difference when dipping cake pops is to quickly dip just in and out until it hits the stick and gently tap off the extra. I don't keep the cake pop inside the chocolate for too long like other treats, or it may fall off the stick, especially if the chocolate temperature drops and gets too thick, it will suction the cake inside. That quick dip into a fluid dipping consistency chocolate is how you do it. It's decorating time. I pipe the stripes on the top and bottom with a tip number 2 and the stitches down the center with a tip number 1. I find the contrast between a thinner stitching and the thicker stripes looks most realistic, like a real football. When piping the royal icing, I stick the cake pops inside of floral foam to keep them in place while decorating. For most of the treats on the treat table, I serve them in this game day treat stand from Party City. It doesn't have the holes for the cake pops. I punched them out myself in the top row and added floral foam underneath to keep the cake pops supported, if that's something you want to do for a creative cake pop stand. Remember to save some room for the football strawberries. They are a must-have for your party guests. Start off by inserting wooden skewers into strawberries that have been washed and dried. My skewers are 10 inches long since I'm drying the berries upright to keep the football looking nice and full instead of wiping the chocolate off the back. I'm pulling back all the leaves to dip into the melted chocolate. It's the same color combination that I mixed for the cake pops with the salted caramel base. Notice how much longer I stay inside the chocolate compared to when I dip the cake pops. Usually I give my berries a second dip to cover all the bumpy seeds and skin underneath by going right back in after shaking some of the excess off, and finish by swirling the berry. If you don't have a dipping container similar to mine, a deep cup or mug works great as well, just like I'm showing here. The result comes out great every time when dried upright in the floral foam. After they have set, I place mini cupcake liners underneath to keep them from wobbling around while we decorate. You can choose to pipe the football design with chocolate in a Ziploc baggie. I had so much extra icing from decorating all these treats that I piped on the royal icing like I did with the cake pops without having to adjust the consistency. If you want to pipe with chocolate instead, I show how to achieve piping consistency for that in the chocolate tutorial that I mentioned earlier. I don't know about you, but I think these berries were a big score. Last but not least, let's spice up the party with these crispy air fryer hot wings. Even if cooking isn't your thing, you could definitely make these. They're too tasty to pass up for game day, and the recipe can certainly be doubled if you want to make more wings. For this recipe, I have 1.5 pounds of chicken wings that I prepared by cutting and trimming the tips, and start by seasoning with onion powder, garlic powder, and salt to taste, which means it's based on what you prefer. Some like a little and some like a lot of garlic like me. Just channel your inner salt bae. Give all your wings a flip and add your seasonings to the other side as well. After the wings are seasoned, huddle them together to coat with 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. This is the key ingredient to crispy chicken wings in your air fryer with an evenly browned crust. Make sure you aren't picking up baking soda by mistake. That will not taste good at all. Head to your air fryer and place the chicken wings in the basket. You want to avoid stacking or crowding them too close together, otherwise the skin won't crisp properly, and that's the whole point, so stick to keeping them in one single layer. Pop them in for 10 minutes at 400 degrees. I hope you guys enjoyed that mini air fryer time lapse. When the time is up, they will be slightly browned. We're going to give them a flip and cook at the same temperature for another 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how crispy you like them. If they aren't there yet after the 10 minutes, give them an additional 3 to 4 minutes, and they are looking so fantastic. You can always test how crispy they are by going back and forth with the tines of your fork and seeing if it makes a crunchy sound and if they need more time. If you are making a double batch, cook them separately to avoid crowding or stacking them to guarantee crispy wings like these. Add your wings to a bowl and mix 4 tablespoons of melted butter with half a cup of your favorite buffalo sauce, stirring well and pouring that on top of the wings. Then give them a final toss to coat with the sauce. I always serve mine with a side of blue cheese and celery sticks, and these paper bowls from Amazon were so cute if you want to grab them for your own party snacks. I hope you guys enjoyed all these Super Bowl snacks and treats to kick off the big game with a spectacular game day spread. Be sure to comment down below which was your favorite. It's Christina here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.